Welcome to the big show.
He could go all the way. Oh, America, are you serious? It is showtime, baby. Here we go. Slam, jam, slam, bam. It's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jam, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it. Y'all ready for this?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Give it up, go.
Welcome to the big show.
Let me hear you say, well,
Simply
look at me about to say, well. Let me hear you say, well, for this.
Action, we want action, ABC, iOS, action, boys, action, hey.
Pump up the jam, pump it up while your feet are stumping. And the jam is pumping. Look ahead, the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. See, 'cause that's where the party's at, and you find out if you do that. I want a place to stay. Get your booty on the floor tonight, make my day. I want a place to stay. Get your booty on the floor tonight, make my day. Pump up the jam, pump up the jam, pump up the jam, pump up the jam, pump it up, up.
At the 25, breaks a couple of tackles. And look at him go! And look at him go! He could go all the way!
And welcome to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen, live on our home base, WAAR. We are America Radio, your number one source for streaming political and government talk anywhere. Also streaming on weareamericaradio.com/live. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. deep down in the bunker in my Smith & Wesson studio. And from the land of the Aurora Borealis, let's welcome Mr. Norway to the program from way up north. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Hutch. This is Norway calling, and it's the land of the Aurora Borealis for now. But I can actually see the shimmer of daylight out in the horizon. So in a few weeks' time, we'll have midnight sun instead of the aurora.
You know, you were telling me that before the program, and there's so many things that people in your region experience that really nobody else does, and that's something to look out and see that. Can you explain that a little bit more to the audience? It's pretty intriguing to those of us that live in the United States anyway.
Yeah, well, around midnight we have a weak shimmer of daylight way out in the horizon, just like the light you see when the sun has set back in your town. And right now the sun is on its way up again. So I guess in an hour or so we'll have daylight here, complete daylight.
That's got to really mess up the sleeping habits.
You got to cover the windows.
Yeah, I'll bet. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio, 2 A's in war. You can catch the show on Blueberry, Roku, YouTube, Spreaker. Cold War Radio is an iHeartRadio program. You can get the free Cold War Radio app at the iPhone or iTunes or Android stores, the app stores. The email is scrtv@live.com, and the call-in line is 412-567-2449. Back on the big setup. The chat room's up on Spreaker. Go to or visit our very busy and intelligent chat room. You can get the link at steelcityresistance.blogspot.com if you don't have it already. You can also catch the show notes links there. And if you can help, hit the donate button there on the website. Even better, if you could become a Cold War Radio patron. And what that is, ladies and gentlemen, is you just pledge what you think we're worth by the month. And then that helps us pay for things like the phone system and whatnot. The snail mail address is Hutch Bailey Jr. at P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15226. P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, PA 15226, if you'd like to communicate that way. Now, some things are coming up, Norway, with the shows, and I'm not at liberty to discuss everything with the audience yet, but let's just say that there's going to be some major shifts because we're doing some things on other shows that are going to move us around a little bit. And as soon as I have a date when that is going to begin, I will fully inform everybody what's going on, and I hope this works out. I think it will. Now, our co-host for Steel City Resistance, Jack, reminded me, Norway, that there's a very important, if not important electorally, important symbolically, election, a special election being held tomorrow in Georgia. The 6th Congressional District of Georgia will hold a special election for the U.S. House of Representatives on April 18th. If no candidate receives at least 50% of the vote in the initial April election, the top two, regardless of party affiliation, will advance to a runoff on June 20th. Now, this is Tom Price's seat, the man that's in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services. Heading into the election, Ballotpedia rates this race as a race to watch. Although it's normally a safe Republican district, polling and spending in the district indicates a competitive race. The election will replace Tom Price, who was confirmed as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. Prior to his cabinet appointment, Price represented the 6th District from 2005 to 2017. 18 candidates filed to run in the race, 11 Republicans and 5 Democrats and 2 independents. A traditional primary election will not be held in the race. Instead, all candidates will compete in a special election on April 18th. Now, Cold War Radio is going for Bruce Lavelle. He's head of Donald Trump's National Diversity Coalition, and we've interviewed him several times on the Wayne Dupree program. So there that is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the 6th District of Georgia, please get out and vote. With that many candidates in, it's probably doubtful that anybody's going to get 50%. So we got to get our guy, or at least a Republican has to get in that runoff. So that's just a little local domestic politics that we had to get through here. Now, Norway, you brought something to my attention that it seems like Trump's coziness, if you want to call it that, with China seems to be paying off on North Korea.
Yeah, absolutely. The meeting that Trump had with Xi Jinping seems to have paid dividends, and Trump said on that occasion that he had made a very good personal relationship with the Chinese president there. So last week, China returned a train shipment of coal from North Korea, which I must say, when I saw that news, baffled me quite a bit, because North Korea is pretty much dependent on that export to China to make any money at all.
That's right, and the best part about that is my region is going to gain from that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, this thing You know, it was actually reported a couple times. It was actually reported. I saw it almost as they were having their weekend. I mean, it came out like right while Jing was still here. And then there was a lull and nobody said anything. And then a couple days later, it was back on the front page. So this might have happened quicker. I think, to me, this is excellent. You know, I don't agree with the neocons. I never have. I think that we can find. Now, that's not to say that if we get into a relationship that is negative toward us, that we don't react that way. But I'm saying, when you look at the state of the world right now, and you look at the Islamism, and you look at the people and the powers that are affected by that, we have a common enemy right now.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason why a more capitalistic Russia and China and the United States can't get along better.
I mean, China's motive all the way is economy. They want to make money. They want to be a big actor on the world financial stage. So it's in their best interest that one of their best customers, America, is kept safe, and the way North Korea has acted the past few weeks has been very troubling. They were actually threatened with nuclear war and actually threatened with preemptive strikes, which is a signal that they might be building their arsenal. And we know from intelligence that China there has actually been export of lithium from North Korea via Chinese ports, and lithium is a key component in making hydrogen weapons, which can boost the potential yield of a nuclear weapon by a factor of 1,000. So we shouldn't blink at the signals that are coming out from North Korea, and I think the last few weeks rhetoric from North Korea has been especially troubling. They have started talking about the preemptive strikes, and
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely infantile.
Absolutely.
And you look at these people, and the people they've mutated physically and mentally. The people of North Korea, if you look at the physical characteristics of a North Korean and a South Korean, they are different. North Koreans have smaller frames, they're lighter weight, they have more mental and medical problems. They're not fed. They don't eat the way humans eat.
Absolutely. I mean, North Korea is Nazi Germany, only we don't know, times 10, we don't know about it, but the camps they run in North Korea, the few reports coming out of there are absolutely horrendous. I mean, it's amazing that the world community can just sit idly by and watch a dictatorship run their people to the ground like North Korea have done. If it wasn't for foreign aid, grain from America, among other things, North Koreans would have starved in the millions. And you're absolutely right. When you look at North Korean average people, they're smaller, they're more lightweight, and they're oftentimes emaciated from hunger.
Yeah. And I mean, these people have been brainwashed to turn their own families in, and they've done it. I've read a couple books from people that escaped from North Korea, and it's bad news. And anything that North Korea gets, any type of weapon system or anything else, within 10 minutes, Iran is going to have it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's just something that you have to think about. Now, granted, there's artillery set up that would decimate Seoul, and whenever they war game this, that's where it always ends up. I think that's why nothing's ever happened so far, because they know that the artillery is there.
Absolutely.
Conventional artillery, it's already set up. It's right there. They got range cards and everything. You know, all it takes is an alert. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will keep an eye on that. No question about that. 412-567-2449 if you'd like to call in and talk to Norway and I. I'm going to go to the Daily Caller and Andrew Follett, the Daily Caller's energy and science reporter, with a little bit of good news for my region. A new coal mine is opening, and not only that, it is opening to fuel the United States steel industry. This is huge news for people in my region, ladies and gentlemen. This is giant news. The good Lord put resources under our ground and above our ground in the rivers to allow us to exploit this, or maybe not exploit, but use these resources. And now they're finally getting unshackled, and that North Korea move helped this along. A new coal mine is opening up in western Pennsylvania, signaling a small reversal of fortune for the beleaguered coal industry. The Acosta Deep Coal Mine will create 70 to 100 direct full-time jobs and another 500 indirect jobs, according to Corsa Coal, the company building the mine. The site is expected to produce 400,000 tons of coal a year, mostly for U.S. and Chinese steel companies. The opening of the Acosta Deep Mine marks a return to coal industry job creation in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Incidentally, that's the same place that Flight 93 went down, ladies and gentlemen. Corsa Coal officials said in a statement, metallurgical prices have risen to record levels on the strength of strong steel demand and supply scarcity. The Acosta mine is the first of 4 new coal mines slated to open up this year as coking coal, otherwise known as metallurgical coal. Prices continue to soar. The price of coking coal, which is used in steel making, doubled in the last year because of supply disruptions in Australia and Chinese policies to curb some coal-fired energy production. China also halted coal imports from North Korea and began importing U.S. mined coal. Hundreds of coal mines shut down during the Obama administration, and thousands of miners lost their jobs under the pressure of stricter federal regulations. So that's a good news story, Norway. I mean, a lot of people don't really understand what I was talking about with the metallurgical coal and the metallurgical coal and the coking coal. It takes a coal. You have to make coking coal. You don't just mine it. You have to make it, and you have to use a oxygen-free heating process that takes all the impurities out of it and makes it almost pure carbon, and then it can burn hot enough to melt the iron ore and create the steel. So it's very expensive stuff.
Absolutely, and these areas in America has very good coal resources, which means that you need to burn the coal in the reduction process where you remove oxygen and all the impurities is easier when you have really good coal like this. And this is really good news. I mean, there were 86,000 coal miners in January of 2009, and during the Obama administration it shrunk to 50,000. So this is really good news, and to all the environmentalists out there, it's complete bull what they're serving up with about the CO2. I mean, if you spend all the resources of coal, oil, and natural gas, you would increase the temperature by 2100, the year 2100, by under 1 degree.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, you know, especially with this coking coal manufacturing, you get these mills, and they set up these coke batteries, and they stack them on top of each other, and the temperatures are phenomenal. I mean, they're all in centigrade. They're like 6,000 degrees centigrade. It's madness. It's really hot with open hearth blast furnace, or not open hearth, but with blast furnaces. You can't even do it with an electric furnace. You have to use recycled steel, scrap metal. You can't do it with iron ore. But it's good to see that coming back. There's new technology. And if it was up to me, I would knock all these shopping malls down and we'd start making some stuff. I'd knock them down, and these people would have to get back to work or move out.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good story. I'm glad I was able to report that. I did another piece on U.S. Steel earlier. I mean, I don't think it's going to be back to the way it was, but it could be back to the volume it was. I mean, when you look around and you look at a bridge and just an overpass bridge, not a Golden Gate bridge, just a regular highway overpass bridge, we need to be able to manufacture our own structural steel, not just soup cans.
Absolutely, and I mean the steel is completely vital to a modern society. There is practically nothing that's made without steel. I mean, cars, kettles, cookers, wind turbines, nuclear power stations. They're all
bridges, railroad tracks.
Exactly,
railroad cars.
infrastructure. Yeah, so
Right.
it's all dependent on steel.
Yes, it is. Now, 412-567-2449 if you'd like to call the show. Now, something that bothers me a little bit, and I'm not going to get to the point where I'm completely reacting to the mainstream media, because it's obvious now that I have to learn to curb my emotions a little bit. I really do. Because the entire Steve Bannon thing was made up. I mean, in my opinion. And it's, when you look at it, you can tell who scares the hell out of the left by who
Absolutely.
they bring up.
Oh yeah,
And Steve Bannon scares the hell out of them, and nothing's happened to him. I feel confident that he's going to continue in his role. Now, that being said, there's a couple of these other guys that are in this administration. You're never going to get Ashton Kutcher, whatever his name is, Kutcher. You're never going to get him out of the pictures. He's part of the family. You're just never going to get rid of him. But some of these other guys, like Wall Street banker Gary Cohn, and there's some others that are inside this administration, they just hired a guy from Anthony Weiner's campaign or office. This is making me a little nervous, Norway. I mean, I think back, and you got to look at where this guy comes from, the president I'm talking about. He comes from Queens, but he lives at Queens. But he lives in Manhattan. He's surrounded by Democrats, so he's bound to have a lot of friends there. Now, I don't mind that he brings his friends close to him, but when you read reports on Breitbart that actually originated in Reuters, and Breitbart Marlowe must have vetted it to the point where he believed it, where he printed it in Breitbart, in a White House marked by infighting, top economic aide Gary Cohn, a Democrat and former Goldman Sachs banker, is muscling aside some of President Donald Trump's hard-right advisors to push more moderate, business-friendly economic policies. Now, I don't see, if they say business-friendly, there's two economies. You got Wall Street and you got Main Street, two different economies.
Absolutely.
Is this business in Wall Street side or the Main Street side?
This sounds like I must say I haven't researched Gary Cohn, but he sounds like he's a Democrat. He's a former Goldman Sachs banker. He sounds like a globalist. So that's definitely Wall Street business friendly economics. And you're absolutely right. I think it might not be healthy to get off the rail every day over all the news we're being force fed with, but I agree with you. I think Steve Bannon for now is quite safe, and I like I said in the previous program, I don't see anything wrong with having a balanced core of advisors around the president that can discuss. But his strength in numbers, and I would hate to see Steve Bannon being the lone sane voice in all of this.
No, I agree with you. And the thing is that you have to understand, everybody pretty much knows it, but you have to understand that Donald Trump is not ideological. So therefore, some things that people that are ideological like us are completely against, he could be swayed possibly. I mean, you look at how he holds this guy, in the esteem he holds for this guy. Trump refers to his director of National Economic Council as one of my geniuses, according to a source close to Cohn. So that's a pretty good accolade. And if you have somebody like that that's not on board with, see, the thing to me is you have to move this into 8 years. First, it has to be worth it, which I think it will be. But to do that, a lot of people voted for this guy because of the things he said on the trail.
Exactly.
And if you don't go by that, and I'm not saying he isn't. I mean, we're only 100 days in. We've got a long way to go. But people expected things right now. I mean, this is the age of instant gratification where people can't delay gratification. They got to have it right now. And I just wonder how this is gonna work and how many more of these people are going to show up. And maybe this guy will be good. It's quite possible. But I'm just the red light's not flashing. The yellow light is.
Exactly. Well, I mean, there are two major things talking against this guy. He's a Democrat, and he's a former Goldman Sachs banker. So, like you say, we're only 87 days, 7 hours, and 27 minutes into the presidency, and a lot of things can happen. But I feel that there's, and you're completely right about the ideology. I mean, Trump is not an ideologue. He's a businessman. He likes to pick people to getting things done, and he will have to do that in order to get the American economy running again with the enormous deficit. But still, there is a lot to be said about ideology in this. And with McMaster, we talked about McMaster now for 3 or 4 shows, and we have this news coming up. I must say I'm a bit apprehensive on the ideological side, because Trump had some very clear points he came across with during the election, and that was what pivoted his presidency into victory. So,
no, you're right. You're 100% right. Now, you know, on the real side here, there are a lot of things getting done that aren't being reported very well. One of them is the almost complete shutdown, if you will, of immigrants crossing our southern border. I mean, I think I read 97% less crossings reported by the Border Patrol than last year. I mean, that tells you all you need to know.
Absolutely, and you have a president that now actually backs them in their work rather than counteract them. So, of course, it's a boost for them to do their job properly too.
I'll tell you what I'd really like to see, though, and I think we may see it, and that's some people have to be prosecuted. I mean, when I say that, I mean the outright just turning your back or defiance of federal law at the city level is unacceptable. I mean, these mayors and these governors, I mean, at some point in time, the federal government has to be the federal government. And I'm seeing some good signs from General Sessions, Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
The third.
The third, yeah. I'm seeing some good signs from him, but I mean, there's a lot of cleaning up to do, man. I mean, just a ton.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
Not the least of which is like San Francisco and even maybe Brown, Governor Brown. I mean, these people are out of control, and I think they need to be brought back in. But, you know, even before that, there's enough real criminals out there that have committed crimes during the last 8 years. I'd like to see them get started on some of them.
Absolutely. I think there's a very, very important point to be made that they need to crank up the prosecutions and make some examples that will send some strong signals around the world, actually. So, yeah. But there's a lot of cleaning up to do. A lot.
Absolutely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't wait till the end of the show to call in. If you want to call in, 412-567-2449, or I'm going to discontinue this phone system.
Hey, guys, call in.
I couldn't keep up with it on Skype, but now nobody's calling. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
I
right,
just
we're
spent a
gonna
lot of money on this, so come on, guys, call in now.
We're gonna get into something now, Norway. That the reason I brought this on there, the story is about a week old, a week or so, but I want to make sure that the listening audience understands what we're talking about when we're talking about this next subject, because this is one of the most horrific things that you've ever heard. And the first time you hear it, or the first time you understand the depth and scope of the horror that this political system causes to its women, you won't believe it, man. I mean, this is from Front Page Magazine, David Horowitz's Front Page Magazine. It's by Daniel Greenfield, one of the most in-depth authors on the subjects of Islam that I've ever seen. This guy does his homework. He's a Shulman Journalism Fellow at David Horowitz's Freedom Center and a New York writer focusing on radical Islam. This piece is entitled, and you know, you might get squeamish on this, but it's very important to understand. It's called Mutilating Little Girls in Michigan's Little Palestine, a female genital mutilation horror in the Midwest. This is happening in the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. Livonia, Michigan, is known as Little Palestine. The Detroit suburb is famous for its anti-Israel meetings. You could go hear Mustafa Barghouti, Omar Barghouti, and Ali Abu Naima without taking a long drive. It's also known for shady doctors. Dr. Murtaza Hussain was busted for letting unlicensed employees diagnose patients and write prescriptions. Dr. Wasim Alam and Dr. Hatem Ataya pleaded guilty in the nation's largest Medicare fraud case, totaling $712 million in false billings centering on Shahid Tahir, Mohammed Tariq, and Manaver Javed's Livonia medical firms. But what was going on at one Livonia clinic was far worse than the theft of millions. Anyone passing by at the right time could hear the screams of little girls. We think of horrors like female genital mutilation as a terrible thing that happens over there. But as the implacable tide of Muslim immigration swept across Europe, there became the United Kingdom. England recorded 5,700 cases of FGM in less than a year. France has jailed. All right, let's, you know what? What I wanted to do on this show, Norway, anybody can say female genital mutilation and they don't know what that is. You know, and this is an evil. If you have kids listening or you get squeamish, you might want to go not listen to this part. Because I'm going to say it because it's that important. These people are so evil. They hate women so much that they take these little girls, their little girls, anywhere from 2 to 12. And they take them, and it's women that do these things. And sometimes I've seen photographic documentation in Africa, outside, in the jungle, where you have two big women holding a little screaming 3-year-old girl, holding her legs apart as the other woman comes in with a Gillette razor blade. There's no anesthesia, nothing like that. And what they do, ladies and gentlemen, there's several different things. And it's not universal, but it's widespread. They surgically remove the clitoris. And that's the mildest version. There's other versions where they suture the labia together to where there's only a small opening. Now, I'm not trying to gross you out. I'm trying to tell you what is happening among us and what the media and the politicians and the police will not tell you. This is what's happening. Now, this girl, for the rest of her life, can never enjoy making love the rest of her life. And that's why they do it. You think about that.
It's This is the author of this article, Daniel Greenfield. He is a fantastic author, and I recommend him to everybody. Look him up. And what he's talking about here is actually naming the beast. We have to talk about this in order to deal with it. If we don't talk about it, if we don't spread the information about this, nothing will be done. And the media in America and in Europe, they know about this. The politicians, they know about this. In Sweden, they made a half-hearted attempt to curb this by some legislation, but hardly anyone are being convicted by this. And the same thing goes for Norway. I think we had one case of conviction with this, and in Norway they actually send the girls home, and I mean these are refugees, so I don't understand how they can go home in the first place if they've fled from Somalia. But they go home in the holidays to Somalia and have this done over the summer holidays. And I mean, the only way to combat this is actually making it compulsory to have children checked up by doctors and nurses in the municipality. It's the only way to combat this.
Not Islamic ones either.
Exactly. So, and you're absolutely right. You described the two outer points, the Sunnah circumcision, which is the amputation of clitoris, and what doctors call infibulation, which is removal of clitoris and both labias, and where they are sutured up, which is in itself could be a life-threatening procedure, and later on during pregnancy and childbirth, it very often rips the baby's head open because of scar tissue. So a lot of children die during childbirth because of this absolutely barbaric Islamic tradition.
And sometimes, and West Virginia, call back. I was just getting ready to answer your call. Maybe they can't hear it again. I don't know. But, sometimes they sew it all. And I posted a link in the chat room of a woman that does a wonderful job on this. She made a video called Islamic Sexuality, A Survey of Evil. And I actually learned a lot about this from that. And they sew the labia together so when the one with the urine stream doesn't have anywhere to go straight out, so it has to drain all the way down out the small hole they leave at the bottom. And it's just a monster for infection. And then sometimes before childbirth, they'll cut it back open. And then after childbirth, they will sew it back shut. So it's pretty disgusting. West Virginia, good evening. What's your name?
Hey, Hutch, this is Terry. I've called you before in Norway. Hi. That's what I was thinking about, was these young girls that go through all this horror, and then these men marry them when they're 9 or 10 years old, or they rape them or something. And I'm thinking, oh, my, the pain all over again. I mean, what is going on that they would do that to these little girls, over and over and over? So anyway, that's been bothering me for several weeks, and I just wanted to say that, okay?
Well, sure. And, this is the thing. Most people, when you see American women's groups standing up in solidarity with these people, they obviously don't know what's going on. I have a woman that I know in Pittsburgh that I've talked to over the years. Her father was a missionary in Zambia, and she lived there for quite a few years. And I used to mail her CDs of my show, my comedy show, and now she's back in the United States and trying to set up this thing with churches marrying up with Islamic trade. I'm thinking, no, Holly, wait a minute now. And I try to explain this stuff to her. It's not out there. They have been brilliant in their hiding of this.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. But and like you say, it happens in Africa, all kinds of cultures, you know. It's not just Muslim, but it's all over. And the thing is what it does to the child. The scars are deeper than what's on their body, you know, and it's very hard to listen to, but that's the reality that we live in. And I appreciate you guys going in depth about it and still promoting this and telling us about it, okay?
Well, hey,
so thank you very much.
Terry, thanks for calling, and all we can do is spread the news. We can educate. That's the best thing that we can do. And call back anytime.
And love these little girls and love our own little girls and do all we can to show them how very special they are, okay? Well,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Good night.
And good night.
You know, and not only the little girls, but the little boys that are poisoned into going down this path themselves.
Absolutely, and we have this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do not try to call the old number. The number is 412-567-2449. 412-567-2449. If you call the old number, it will just disrupt us like that call just did.
Terry had a point here that there are several African cultures, non-Muslim cultures, that perform infibulation, and that is correct. But it's a widespread Islamic problem, and for people who have read a little bit about Islam means submission.
Right.
People are slaves within Islam, and women are half as much worth as a man in Islam, and this procedure has one thing as a goal, and that is to take away. Women are supposed to bear children. Period. There is not about a woman enjoying herself, and I mean, women are described as Satan several times in the Islamic core text. So it says a lot about what kind of view of a human being that horrible ideology has.
No, it absolutely does. And caller from New Jersey, what's your name? I guess you want to talk about this topic as well.
I do. Hi, Hutch. Hi, Norway. My name is Debbie from New Jersey. Good evening.
Good evening.
You know, I was listening to this topic, and first of all, kudos to both of you for even discussing it. And I think that's the biggest problem we have is we don't talk about these things. That people are like ashamed or embarrassed, and we don't do us any service by, you know, hiding this. I'm not happy about hearing it, but I am glad to hear the topics being brought up. With that being said, what really, really gets to me is those women who were protesting, I think, was it February or March, with those pink cats running around Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
I didn't hear one of them, not one of them, mention this topic. And they're talking about Jeep and, you know, embracing this religion. And it's like, you know what? What if you were this child? Or what if it was one of your children, you guys, these multimillionaire, you know, pop singers or whatever, and it was their daughter? All hell would break loose. You know?
No, you're right. You're right. It's something that, you know, it's so, you know, they're millionaires, and I can't remember the one name of the woman that talked about her bloody pants and everything. It's totally disgusting.
Yeah. Right. And they're calling, you know, nasty, you know.
Hey, Debbie, we're losing you. I'm gonna have to let you go. You're in a bad spot, but thanks for calling. We appreciate it. Call back when you get in a better spot. Yeah, sometimes the cell phones do that, man. You can't hear. But guess what, Norway? You remember the guy, the Turkish Muslim, who went on a shooting rampage at the Cascade Mall in Washington?
Yeah, he saved the state. Yeah, he saved the state a lot of money, obviously. So, yeah, well, I guess there's they try to run a mental issue with these guys as is the favorite defense tactic for Muslim terrorists in the West, and I'm just happy that I'm sad to say that, but actually I'm happy that he hung himself and saved the taxpayers a lot of dollars. So
the longer this goes on, if they want to do it in their own country, that's one thing. But as long as this goes on in Western countries, the more this happens, the less I look at them as humans. They've taken themselves to a subhuman area where the only thing that matters is them killing people and being rulers of the world, which they're never going to be. Arkan Seaton, 20, the Muslim immigrant accused of killing 5 people at Cascade Mall in Burlington last fall, was found dead in the Snohomish County Jail on Sunday night, apparently after hanging himself. It's good that he did it himself in, because the family and defense attorney were trying to have the charges dropped because of mental issues, like Norway said. The new favorite defense tactic for Muslim terrorists in the West. So we saved a couple dollars on that one. That's a good thing. And that's all he's going to get here. However, I will say, King 5, federal sources confirm to King 5 News that Seaton was not a U.S. citizen, meaning legally he cannot vote. Remember all these leftists that said there was no problem with illegal immigrants voting and no voter fraud? However, state records show Seaton registered to vote in 2014 and participated in 3 election cycles, including the May presidential Democrat primary. A tweet from Arkan Seaton: "We win. I vote for Hillary Clinton." That was in 2015 in January.
Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, this comes to mind all the time when I hear the left protest and call Trump all kinds of names and call him a racist and what have we not. And I mentioned it. I had a tip from one of our listeners earlier here. She mentioned she had subscribed to these mailing lists, and they talk about revolution and protecting the Muslim minority. But in reality, what the Democrats wanted was free immigration to have their own water slaves and water plantations. But the fact of the matter is that if you get very much more Muslim immigrations to America, you will go down the same path as many of the Western European countries have gone down, and that is to say, you will actually lose democracy.
Not only that, you're going to lose. You're going to get raped. I mean, the whole idea of women supporting this it blows my mind. It's a lack of education. I've often said, when I first became aware of what was going on with Islam, it was actually after I got back from the Iraq War. And I started studying. Ann Barnhart, the link that I put in the chat room, it wasn't the first, but she was one of the first that started opening my eyes. But before we go there, let's try to talk to Tennessee Peacock, whatever, or Tracy. Is this Tracy or Peacock?
Yes, it's Tracy.
I'm only going by what's on your phone that's showing
I
up.
know.
Hi, Tracy. How you doing? What do you want to talk about?
We've been talking about the female, utilization and stuff like that. And I was talking in the chat room with, I think, a couple people about that we don't do anything about child abuse. And I think until we get a handle on all the pedophilia and the sex trafficking and the torturing and killing of these little kids, I actually worked as a psych nurse in Kentucky and dealt with kids who were abused in satanic cults, ritualistic abuse. And I didn't
Really?
believe it until I worked with these kids. And it's real. And it's beyond horrific what they put these kids through. So somebody is going to have to step up and get this under control.
You know,
Or-
maybe that's a topic that we ought to visit, because I've heard that, you know, there's a couple different narratives going on. You had the Pizzagate thing going on, and then you had Alex Jones come out and apologize for saying it. But then I saw other articles that showed that the federal government task forces were really reeling a lot of people in these pedophilia rings. And I just wonder, maybe we ought to look into that a little bit more, because you're right. I mean, it's out there, and it's one of those subjects. Like, I remember when the Pizzagate thing came out, and I tried to talk about it a little bit, and you almost got ridiculed for even mentioning it.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
Pizzagate.
doesn't want that to happen. They don't want it to come out. But I mean, Pizzagate, it's a small part of it, but the child sex trafficking is real, and the satanic cults are real. And I've taken care of kids who were in the cults. It's very big in Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky. It's big in Indiana. It's big in Chicago. And these kids, you cannot make up the stuff that these kids say.
Wow.
I can't.
Wow.
I mean,
I just looked at
3 and 4 and 5-year-olds.
Tracy, I
They don't know.
I looked at the clock. I'm out of time. Thanks for calling. Please call back again.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you stopping in. I forgot that this was over at 55 minutes. Norway, how can people get in touch with you on social media?
I am at Norway for Trump on Twitter and Gab, and that's Norway with the number 4 after it. And I would like to give a big shout out to the Spreaker chat room. They're great as usual. God bless you all, and God bless America. See you later, Hutch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Norway. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Berg's Eye View on Twitter. Thanks to everybody listening live and in the chat room. Don't go anywhere. The Wayne Dupree program is coming up next on Spreaker. I guess you will have to go somewhere. But breaking into the West Coast live tonight on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Again, thanks for letting us into your life for an hour. And we'll be back tomorrow night. God bless.